What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Walking 90. I was really about to say River City 93 for some odd reason. That just lets me know that the season is right around the corner. But I'm your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and is joining me is a new co host, Mr. Chip. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Ready to put Peter through his paces today and see what he has to say about the Omaha season, especially with all the news that happened today that
Question I
didn't
just got to
involve Union
say,
Omaha.
whatever room you in, the lighting is like very, very nice. Just got to say that.
I try to watch some YouTube videos before we do this. I have way too much free time because my wife's in healthcare, so she's always working, and I'm sitting at home, not at Union Omaha games because we have a few more months to go.
And joining us is the guy that's probably going to ask Brad Pitt in 15 years to play him in a movie about Union Omaha winning the championship. Is Mr. Peter Marlette. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
All right, that's good to see. Man, it's a pleasure to have you on, obviously, because one, you guys just won the championship, but also because we get to ask you a couple of questions of how rosters are built in USL League One. You know, you're kind of the inside guy, sir.
And I can give you some information. I don't know. We're still working on it here at Union Omaha for 2022, but we've got a good foundation in place.
Okay. Well, for starters, let's ask this. How did you get started becoming the GM of Union Omaha, a team that going into season 3 already got a championship under his belt? Could have possibly been two if COVID didn't happen. Um, how did you get started as the GM of Union Omaha?
Yeah, I mean it's been a pretty long journey here, I guess. But I did play. I was a Division III player back in the Northeast in New England, Trinity College, where I was a D3 All-American, and then got hurt in my senior year, and kind of bounced around some USL preseasons and stuff, but nothing catching on there. So played a little in the professional arena soccer league in Cincinnati, and then found my way over playing in the Australian league in the second division there, the National Premier League, where had a very good season there, and there were some options to continue it either there or back here in the U.S. But it was about 10 years ago now, and I kind of saw what my level as a player was and thought I might have a better future on this side of it. So made that transition about 10 years ago now. Actually, exactly 10 years ago now, I guess. And yeah, right before coming to Omaha and taking this job, I was working at FC Dallas in business development and corporate partnerships. But while I was doing that, I was simultaneously getting scouting certifications and other licenses like that in the hopes of coming to a position like the one that I have here in Omaha. So, it worked out pretty well for me. I'm exactly where I was hoping to be when I left the game 10 years ago. And yeah, I mean, last year was my first year as a GM in this league, and it was a pretty good one to start with. So yeah, just it's been a long road, but I got myself right where I wanted to be right now. So pretty happy about it.
Okay, all right. Chip, you as the resident Union Omaha fan, let me ask you this. Obviously, you know Peter a little bit better, but how difficult do you think his job is? Do you think he's just out there like really kind of playing FIFA in the USL market, or do you think he's out there like really willing and dealing with guys?
I think Peter has it pretty easy. He has the best fans in the league in Union Omaha. I'm sure they haven't said a single word to him about losing 5 guys to the championship, potentially losing Dami, the best player in the league last year, to FC Toronto, or anything at all today about losing 2 guys to other League One teams and 4 guys overall. So I think Peter's on easy street. The fans just are behind him 100%. Hasn't had any comments about players, but I think Peter definitely is doing a lot of work. I think to a degree, being a GM of a League One team means that you're probably having to maybe do a little bit more work than somebody at a top club. Like you're really having to turn over rocks and go to random places to find guys because it's not like there's a player pool of 20 guys that can fit in. You're talking about giant player pools of available players that can play in League One. So Peter's probably very familiar with a bunch of random leagues all over the world. Like where was it that the Greenville striker this year went to Malta? Who here knows where Malta is? let alone that they had a soccer league. But we're grabbing players from all over the world in this league, and so I think guys like Peter are, turning over every stone they can find to bring the best guys to Omaha. And for that, we got to tip their cap because they did a great job last year, and we're going to do an even better job this year.
All right, Peter. I want to go ahead and kind of ask you questions about like roster building and stuff because you don't hear a lot about it in USL League One, compared to like Premier League where it's written about over and over a bunch. How do you go about taking you back to last year? How did you go about looking at this roster, looking at what this team needed to build upon, and kind of going into that second year knowing that hey, we got to sign these kind of guys to have success?
Yeah, well, I think what's most important there is knowing your identity as a club and knowing the game and the style that you like to play. Which Jay Mims, our head coach and technical director, he knew exactly what that was. From day one, from when a year before this team ever played a game, he knew what he was looking to build in rosters and in team identity. And then you have your personas in different positions. You have your player profiles that you're looking to fill. And yeah, as Chip mentioned, we've lost some players in the offseason, as you will in USL League One when you win a championship. But we know exactly the profile in each position that we are looking to fill. We've been, creating a list of some players and some leagues and some clubs where that profile can be filled, talking to coaches. Our technical staff is, all over the scouting software. They're traveling in person to see players and to talk to coaches, talk to agents, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort. But if you have a clearly defined playing style and a clearly defined goal as a team, and you know how each position has to fit into that, you go find those profiles. It's that huge pool of talent that can play in League One. All of a sudden, it gets a lot smaller when you are not just looking for someone who can play a position in League One, but who can play that position in our system and in our club. So it's a lot of work, but once you've got that defined persona that you're looking for, you just got to go find it.
Yeah. Because I remember last year, I think in memory serves me right, you signed a couple of guys. One player from Rev 2 that Nicholas
Nick Firmino.
Nick Firmino. I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted him in Richmond. He good to you guys. But I guess what I'm trying to ask you is when you're building this team from last year, do you look at it from a standpoint of like how much does like the field dynamics come into play for building this team? Like, are you working hand in hand with Jay Mims, or is it kind of that thing of Jay gives you a list and you're kind of just working off of that?
Yeah, it's very cohesive. It's very collaborative. Bobby Murphy and Danny, our assistant coaches, are also very much involved. I mean, Bobby was taking trips. He's been taking trips for a while now to see players live and to talk to coaches live. So I would say it's very collaborative. We all know, because Jay as the technical director has set this, as I was just referring to, those personas that we're looking for and those abilities and assets that we're looking for in different positions. Jay's outlined that, we know what to look for, and then the whole technical staff is out there looking for them, talking to players. For me, most of my contact comes in with agents or the other clubs when we get to that point. But yeah, I would say it's very collaborative. But Jay, being our technical director, back in 2019 when the club was founded, he decided the way this team was going to play and the way this team was going to look on the field. Now it's up to all of us to fill those spots.
So
okay.
I know we talked. Oh, so I know especially if you watch some of the Netflix documentaries about the super leagues in Europe and everything else, you kind of can see what they have as agents, and they're kind of very slick guys who manage, 4 or 5 guys, and that's it. And that's how they make all their money. And sometimes it's hundreds of millions of dollars a year for these guys. What's a agent for a League One player like compared to the super agents you see over in Europe?
There is a very wide range, I would say. I mean, listen, some agents who represent League One players, I'll talk Nick Firmino, for example, some of the biggest agents in this game in North America. Typically a League One player they don't want to build up their player roster with League One players when they're at that level. But there's also a lot of people who are out there with their roster of players or with one player that they're representing, who are really grinding through to get these contracts done. Because as you guys can imagine, at the League One level, it's they're not getting heavily compensated, so they're working hard. Some of them like to be slick. Some of them like to pretend they're Jorge Mendes, and some of them are just normal, just acting normal, just out there trying to get their guys the best deals they can. There's a wide range, but so far I actually, maybe I'm being naive, but I haven't run into anybody I've had any issues with yet.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw me waving off here. Our director of soccer ops, James, is just coming in my office in the background. It's 7 p.m. here Central Time, and he is always here, usually later than I am, which I try to not let that happen. But he's been doing some stuff in the background. Any questions for a director of soccer ops? It's a totally different role, but it's one I gotta say. All that work I was just talking about, me and Bobby and Danny and Jay doing, and the technical staff doing, we could do all that. And if the director of soccer ops wasn't doing their role, it'd be all for naught. Nothing would get done. So important behind the scenes role here.
So I want to ask him this. You can step into the camera a little bit. We're not going to bite.
How you guys doing?
It's good, man. Good. How difficult is your role? Because you're not a role that most soccer fans will hear about. Normally, it's the GM, the head coach, parts of the technical staff. But it seems like you are kind of, quote unquote, the spine of how everything operates around. So can you just describe to fans, like, what do you do and what are some of the difficulties around your job?
Yeah, so my job is a lot in the background, so it's just making all the wheels turn. So think of everything that happens in the background, so not only working with the contracts, but making sure that the players have good transportation, all of our utilities are paid, housing, food, travel itineraries. So just making that glue just kind of stick. So my job's successful when Pete could do his job successfully and the players could just focus on the game.
So you're the one out here booking the hotels.
Yes. I gotta make sure that they're fed. I gotta make sure they have a good night's sleep. Almost like Team Dad, right? Just food on the table, roof over their head.
A lot of practice. So I don't know if you listened to the interview with Jimmy Obleda, the coach of Chattanooga. Did you guys happen to hear what his pregame meal is?
No.
So his pregame meal is peanut butter and tuna. So I got to ask, like, what player have you worked with, whether that's a guy at Union Omaha, someone coming in from another team, who's had, like, the weirdest, like, dietary thing?
I don't think that we have we do a lot of more team meals. I'm trying to think. I know post-game meals is a lot of times after a game is when you see the real big cravings when the guys want junk food or something like that. But normally it's going to be pasta the night before. It's going to be very light the day of. Nothing very weird. That's usually what it is.
No, there's a weird meal in there. Come on now. What's that weird post-game meal? Who's out here asking for Wawa subs and like
We don't got those here.
Oh, that's right. Y'all don't have Wawa.
No, we got Quick Trip. Everyone, the Midwestern here's eat breakfast pizza from a gas station called Casey's.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of Chipotle. I'll tell you that. Guys love Chipotle on the road. That's probably the number one meal that we have to order, and even teams coming in and trying to coordinate with them, it's the universal meal for players in League One.
Oh,
A big partner of U.S. soccer, so
I can believe it. Well, we want to say thank you so much, man. You go and enjoy the rest of your night, all right?
Yeah,
Hey, Jimmy.
got more work to do. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hopefully, he has to get some new name placards for the locker room.
No comment.
So, Peter, I want to ask you this question because this is something that always comes up around this time, kind of like the winter transfer window. Kind of like a two-part question. Is it true in American soccer that the winter transfer window is like Europe's summer transfer window? And two, why don't we see a lot of transfers paid with money between clubs
Sorry,
and USL
something's
League
not
winning
right.
championship?
Wait a
That
few
makes sense.
minutes and try setting up again.
I
You can
apologize.
also try unplugging your device and plugging it back in.
Interrupted by the Google Home back there. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just our seasons are reversed. So the winter transfer window for us is when we can still get players in for a full preseason and still build the roster around that market. So yeah, to answer your first question, it is kind of reversed from how it is in Europe. We haven't seen a lot yet of those transfers and transfer fees being paid with USL League One clubs or transfer fees going out that are of any real significance. But I think that's changing very quickly. I can't speak in any details, but I can say here at Union Omaha, we've done some things this offseason that we have never done in the past, which will be announced not long from now. And yeah, it's operating in that transfer market, like you said. So I think League One is coming there. I think it's just a young league, and the clubs and the front offices of the clubs have still been figuring out exactly how to operate in the transfer market. But it's coming. It's also been selling the league, whether it's nationally, whether it's to Championship or to MLS, or internationally over to Europe or other parts of the world. League One's only 3 years old, so people are just starting to see what the level is and be able to gauge, what a good player in League One looks like in their league. So really, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more action in the transfer market from all clubs. Certainly are from us, and I think it's just more a result of it being a young league than lack of interest or lack of ability. I think it's coming.
Okay.
So kind of my pet project this offseason has been building a transfer tracker for League One players moving on to USL Championship and elsewhere. And so by my count so far, Aaron Malloy out of Forward Madison is the only guy to get any sort of transfer fee for Madison, which was his release clause. This is compared to like 5 guys, I think, in 2019. Madison also had a goalkeeper that year go to Miami for $20,000. What do you think kind of like the biggest stumbling block for getting guys up to USLC is? I know the rumor last year was they wanted a guy from Omaha for an undisclosed amount of money, but it was not enough to buy like a 2003 Prius or a 2003 Jetta. So do you think it's just a mismatch on like valuations of guys, or what do you think?
I don't think it's so much a mismatch, honestly. I think USLC and MLS know what a USL League One player, what their value is. I don't know that they're willing to pay it. I think for too long, League One and USL clubs in general, when selling on to MLS or over to Europe or whatever it may be, have been so excited to get that deal done that they've almost let themselves get taken advantage of. The player that you're referencing, Chip, I was not involved in that. I wasn't here yet, but I heard the offer, and there's no way you're accepting it for that player. So it's become a big initiative at the league office level to get both League One and Championship clubs defending the value of their players and protecting the value of their transfers. So Aaron Malloy had that release clause. So he was able to move at a relatively, or I would say for him, a very inexpensive price. But that's good negotiating by he and his agent when they're signing that contract in the first place, if their goal is to be able to move on at the end of the year. Also, I think the asset management, the player value management, is something that front offices in League One are getting better at and maturing and learning. Listen, we have 5 players from our team last year up in championship, as you mentioned, Chip. And they were all out of contract with us. In some cases, that was always going to be the case. But who knows? Maybe a more mature club could have negotiated those contracts, so we could have gotten some transfer money from them. Had we done the work on the front end. But I think you're going to start seeing League One clubs doing a better job at that, and defending the value of the players that they have. I don't necessarily think that every club in championship is better on the field than we are at Union Omaha or many other clubs in League One. And I also don't necessarily think that they're a better place for a player to develop. Despite what people say about us playing in a baseball field, we've got good facilities. We've got a great coaching staff. Our players live in great housing. They're fed well. Got a good training staff. It's a pretty good place to develop for a young player. So we don't need to give our players away just because a championship or MLS club comes offering. If we've got their contracts, we're going to work with it.
Blada mentioned something similar last week when he said that not a lot of the top of USL 1 could definitely have competed for playoff spots in USLC last year. And, I know us Omaha fans have a reputation for being quite bombastic, but, we beat Phoenix twice in the preseason.
Preseason.
Yeah. I think we could have maybe not won, but I think we could have definitely, gone in, made the playoffs, maybe won a first round game. And, half our roster's going up the championship next year. Yeah, those guys are probably going to start.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I think the players from Omaha that went up to championship, I think those guys are going to make an impact on their teams. Every one of them, honestly. And yeah, who knows how our club would have done in championship last year. I don't think you're far off, but until it's a competitive game, until it matters, preseason doesn't matter. Friendlies don't matter. I mean, they're great for getting the players fit, getting the players playing together, but the results don't matter. So
thank you. I'm glad somebody finally agrees with me.
Open Cup though, which we will finally be able to compete in. I guess knock on wood this year. That's when it's competitive games, and that's when we're really going to see it. So I'm thrilled for that this season.
Actually, you're about to open up real quick. Like, how important is that for you guys as a club? Like financially, just exposure wise, of both fronts. Like, how big is that for you guys? Because like Chip informed me, like this is the first time like a team in Nebraska will be hosting a U.S. Open Cup game. So
it's huge. I think it's huge for any League One club. It's an opportunity, but in our situation, we're going to host the second round, and it'll be 2 lower league clubs that we're playing against. So we've got to take care of business against them because they are going to be coming. Whoever wins that game is going to be coming to get us, and they're going to be coming to make a point here in Omaha. So we got to take care of business in that first round and then see how the draw goes. But no, to be able to prove yourself in a competitive match against a championship or an MLS club, it's a huge opportunity for us as a club. The exposure is great. You saw FC Cincinnati, a few years ago. Who knows if they'd be in MLS right now if not for their Open Cup run? It's a huge opportunity for League One and lower league clubs to show themselves in competitive matches. You can't argue in preseason that we were just looking at players non-competitive. Nobody really cared what the result is. In Open Cup, that argument's gone. They're competitive games, so it's hugely important to us. Yeah. From a financial standpoint, got to advance to the later rounds for it to really make an impact. Honestly, this second round match that we're hosting, I don't know if it's a positive or a net negative for us financially. But the next round, if we get there, that's when we start to see the benefits.
Okay. So Yogi was asking me when we did our Twitter Spaces about the Open Cup when the draws were announced on Friday. We are playing at Morrison. Union Omaha's playing at Morrison Stadium. second time. Do you think we get rid of the bad juju that we had last time when we famously played FC Tucson and didn't have the best result?
Not the best result, but that was a fun atmosphere. That was a good game. It obviously could have very easily gone very differently, if not for some luck here and there. But yeah, no, that's a beautiful stadium. It's a great venue for an early round Open Cup game. Little more intimate, a little more compact. So no, I'm really excited to play there in April.
Yeah, that North Downtown's really great area for a stadium. You read any tweets from Omaha development sites recently?
No, have there been new ones?
No, just the old one from like 2 months ago.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I read that one.
Pete, I want to ask you this: how are you during game days? Like, are you like full GM mode? Like, you walk around with the suit, like just try to make sure everything is calm, cool, collected, or are you out there like full blown, like fan atmosphere? Like, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I do suit up for game day. I will say I ditched the tie. I think I don't think I was wearing a tie this year, but I do suit up for game days. But we get here, the front office staff, and I'm not even close to the first one here, but I arrive 4 or 5 hours prior to kickoff, and so many people in this organization in the front office and game day staff and field staff are here, 12 hours before kickoff, just working, just making sure that we can have the in-stadium products that our fans have come to expect. So listen, game days are fun, but they're a ton of work and they're stressful. I, as the GM, have a little more relaxed job on a game day. I get to go out and see the fans during the tailgates and typically have a beverage with them and get to enjoy the atmosphere a little. But I will say, once the game comes, I got the radio in my ear, just listening for updates from all the different departments throughout the stadium. And I'm just trying to watch the game, trying to focus on the game, but it's difficult. I do watch every game at least once on the broadcast afterwards on the stream, because in stadium, sometimes I can be called to do something and miss too much of the game. So it's honestly, game days are really fun, but man, they're a ton of work for the people behind the scenes putting them on.
I can only imagine. So I want to ask you this about last year, because obviously, like Chip was alluding to, you guys have transferred a lot of guys to the USL Championship. I think the last I counted, it was up to 7 or so, or like 5 or so. Last year, when you're building this team, help construct this roster, there was a lot of talk on Twitter sphere. I'm not gonna lie, I'm the one that was mainly talking about it. Like, Union Omaha was putting all the chips in one bag. Like, it's championship or bust. Was that thought in your process of building this roster based upon what happened in year one, and knowing that you guys kind of have, not kind of have to, but you guys wanted to capitalize off that experience of last year and push on to winning a league title this year?
Yeah, well, listen, I've been here for almost 1 year exactly. Actually, it may even be 1 year exactly. I don't know. So I caught the tail end of our roster build from last year. Most of those key players, key positions were filled by the time I got here. But listen, there's no question with some of the signings that we had in the offseason last year, we saw that we had an opportunity to build a team that could win this league. And we made sure to reinforce those players with whether you want to call it a supporting staff or reinforcements, whatever it may be. We made sure that we were going to capitalize on that top level talent that we did have by filling in the right people in the spots that we needed some support. And I think as a staff, as a technical staff, we clearly made some good guesses and got the right players. And so, yeah, we're looking to do very much the same this year. And I can say being on this year's side from day one, I think we got an opportunity to defend it. And there's some announcements coming that I think people are going to like. So we're building a team here.
Okay. This is another question I had to ask as someone that covers USL League One that I've been wondering. Why are y'all so tight vest with everything? Like it is
Like
like
what?
getting
Like what?
Fort Knox information out of y'all.
Don't let them believe that.
like what? What kind of info are you looking
Well,
for?
okay, I'm personally saying this as a Richmond Kickers fans, but like preseason information, is there going to be a new kid? Like, are we signing anyone? How do you
Yeah.
guys deal with that? Like in the management staff of having like fans ask you guys, like, "Hey, all these guys are leaving. What is going on?"
Yeah. No, listen. We read it. We know what's going on. We know what people are saying. I'm not gonna lie. There was a time today when I'm sitting in my office right now. If I look right out this window, is Jack, who's our head of social media. There was a time that I looked out my open door today, had a tweet. We both saw it at the same time, and just shook our heads. Just frustration. But I don't think we're trying to necessarily play it close to the vest. In some cases, we are. In some cases, there are reasons for that we don't necessarily want announcements getting out before we're ready to put them out. But also, there's a lot of work that goes into it on the back end. It's not FIFA, it's not career mode. It's not setting a price, sending a contract, and clicking a button. These deals take some time to get through. So, I can only speak to us. I don't know about Richmond, but we typically announce our moves pretty soon after they're made. But we do have some in our pocket right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you heard it here first, Union Omaha fans. For the players that you guys have signed so far, just real quick, like what can we expect from them? Not like on the field, but what can you say to get fans excited for them?
Yeah, like I said when we were talking about building our team, this club has an on-field identity, and Jay developed it years ago. We're going to play with that identity. We're going to be pressing. We're going to be winning the ball back in dangerous areas. We're going to be really tough to score on. And some of the players that we've already announced that we've brought in, whether we brought them back or whether we brought them in the off season. I mean, there's certainly no downgrades in any position yet. We're looking good. I can only say so much about what we're also working on in the background. But I'm excited about where this team's going.
We're not rebuilding, we're reloading.
Exactly. Well put.
Okay. Chip, any more questions out of you, my good man?
Yeah, so I know last year Union Omaha led the league in attendance. It's the second year, if you want to count 2020 with COVID, but we also had the second highest ever attendance at a USL 1 game in the history of the league. The first one was Richmond. So what are you guys doing this year to ensure that we have packed stadiums for our guys to play in, and what sort of amenities can fans expect this year?
Yeah, so we have, and this is something that I've been so excited about, actually having a full off season to help build. Because last year, I got here this time last year, and we know when the season started, it was playing catch up the whole time almost. So we had the whole season last year to plan. Our promo calendar is coming out very soon. We're going to have a different promotion of each game, and they're very well thought out. They are not, it's not just bobblehead night to get people in the stadium. It's not just Pride Night because it's a league initiative. We are really thinking out what we're doing and why we're doing them and what we want to do in the community, in the Omaha metro area. And I think you'll see when we release those promotions, I believe tomorrow, that a lot of thought went into it, and they're gonna benefit the atmosphere and the game day experience for fans here. We're also, I know everybody wants $1 and $2 beers. We're exploring everything we can there. We're limited in that, but we do, like I said, speaking facetiously, but negatively about the fans' comments on Twitter. We really do listen to the fans on this, and we really do take into account their opinions and what they feel is going to improve the game day experience We can't do everything, but we absolutely explore everything and do our best to make it happen. So I think the in-stadium atmosphere is only going to improve in 2022. But so much of the atmosphere at Warner Park comes from the fans. I mean, it's not us. It's we just facilitate, and it's the fans that have to, to bring the flags, to bring the. I'm not going to say smoke. We supply the smoke. Bring the fan. Yeah, bring.
Sometimes the fans do.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's. I think our promo calendar is very good this year. And I think our game day overall experience is going to be much improved, despite the fact that we did a pretty good job last year. There's always more to build on.
So 90 plus that Lucas is referencing, that's the Omaha Parliament supporter beer that is not in the stadium. Are you guys working on getting that in the stadium this year? I know they've had a distributor change that makes that possible. Is that?
We are having conversations with them. I'll say as of right now, it's not there, but we are having conversations with them, and it is the goal.
Perfect. And I will say, for all the fans complaining about beer prices, here's the trick. You save your beer cups from the $2 beer at the start of the game. Then you go to the downdraft bar, buy the liter of Fairy Nectar, which is 3 beers for $15. Then just put that in all your buddies' cups, rinse, repeat for the rest of the game. That's the trick for cheaper beers. Think smarter, not harder, guys.
There you go. Peter, real quick, I want to ask you about the schedule that came out not too long ago for Union Omaha. 4 of the first 5 games are on the road. You guys' only home game is the 23rd against Central Valley Fuego. How important is it for Union Omaha to get started on a positive note? We all know here in USL League One that baseball field is a huge home field advantage for you guys, just because the way how the team plays on it and things like that. But having your 4 out of your first 5 games, that's a lot of numbers in there. How difficult is that for you guys?
Yeah, it's brutal on the technical staff, on the players, on the coaching staff, on everybody, on the trainers. It's brutal. It's a result of our stadium situation right now, and it's not forever, but it is something that we are going to have to deal with. We had to deal with it last year, and we just want to maximize points, keep the players healthy, knowing that we're playing 4 out of our first 5 on the road, but in the end it's 15 home and 15 away, so we're going to have a pretty good end of the season like we did last year, ratio, home and away ratio. So it's a battle. It's brutal. You just got to fight through it and hope to maximize points there, and keep the confidence up and make sure that the players know this is the hardest part of the season right now. Once you get through this, you can start to rack up the points a little more, play at home, sleep in your own bed, stuff like that, which makes a difference. So, yeah, I think it does put us at a disadvantage, but it's the reality of our situation, and we dealt with it last year, and I have no doubt that we'll deal with it again this year.
I will say this: after that 5-game stretch, you guys have Charlotte and Hailstorm, so that works in your favor, because Charlotte, no one has an idea what that's going to be, and Hailstorm is a fairly new team. So,
yeah, actually, our first 3 home games are against the 3 expansion teams this year. So that'll be exciting for the fans. That's exciting for me. It's always fun to see a new club in the league at home. So, yeah, I mean, listen, we got to get through that 5-game stretch, and season's a grind. It's a long season, especially at the League One level. So many of these players are, young. They're first and second year pros. 30 games over the course of this many months is a long season. So it's an adjustment, especially if you're coming from college, where it's 3-month season, cramming as many games in as you can. It's a whole different experience here.
I want to ask you this as well, because we asked Jimmy this question on the show about rivals. Who do you consider to be Union Omaha's number 1 rival, and then who is the team that gets underneath your skin when Union Omaha plays against them?
All right, yeah. So, I think for me, there's two possible answers. It's Greenville and it's Madison for me. Greenville, obviously, because of the competitive nature of the teams. Greenville being in the first three finals, us being in one and then having the other one canceled. That's always going to be a battle, and we always have really tight games with them. And there's the belt on the line from the supporters group, so that's a big one. And then Madison, I will say when Madison came to Werner Park last year in the fall, that was as angry as I've been during a game since I stopped playing. Being on the sidelines of that game, I was losing my mind. I was barely containing myself, to be honest. So for me, Matt, I've got a little more bad blood with Madison after that. But it's also we're working in collaboration with Madison on something which is going to be announced fairly soon that I think is a really good thing. So we have those rivalries, but at the same time, this league, the clubs in this league work together. We're all working towards the same goal. We just want to do it a little better than they do every year.
Hey, Connor, go take that last comment from Peter and post it on Twitter with the eye emojis on it.
I will say this, though. I think that's the beauty of USL League One is that so much of it is such fan-created and fan-driven that is not like in MLS where you have a whole week dedicated to rivalries because we're within 90 miles of each other. But yeah, I mean, I will have to say this. For y'all first game to be against Fort Madison, like the rivals, I gotta say, like, if I was close enough, I would definitely go to that game. Because I know it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, no question. Chip, are you making the trip?
No, I'm still trying to get the smell of vaporized frying oil out of my jacket I wore last year after they stuck us behind the fryer stack. No, I bought my wife tickets to a musical in Chicago that weekend, so bought those a few months ago. So
sounds like a very different atmosphere, but that'll be good.
I'm going to be in a lot better mood though, no matter what happens though.
Peter, real quick, behind you, sir. We see this collection of jerseys. I see a Kaiser Chief jerseys.
Yeah,
Can you tell us about that?
So I got that one. So bit of a collector here. The Kaiser Chiefs one I got in Johannesburg on my honeymoon, actually. So 5 years ago, I guess. But for a while, I was traveling a lot. I did grad school and over in Switzerland and worked in Italy for a little bit. So every new city I would go to, I would buy their clubs or one of their clubs' shirts. Eventually, my wife, that's kind of an expensive souvenir. So eventually, my wife, when she realized that I never actually wore them, I just hung them up in my closet or in this case, in my office. She started calling me out on it a little, and so she was saying, "You've got all these jerseys. You're spending all this money on jerseys," which she's not wrong. It's obscene because that's not half of them. But she's saying you literally never wear them. So for a while in my last job, I was wearing a suit to work, and I would wear one of the jerseys, a different jersey every day underneath the suit, just to prove her wrong, just to show her that I did get use out of them.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Marriage 101 right there.
Right. Stick it to the man.
Yeah, but the Kaiser Chiefs one's probably one of my favorites. That's a pretty good one. That's why it is where it is.
What's the coolest stadium you've been in outside of the United States for a game?
Yeah, it's coolest stadium. I don't know. I love Craven Cottage. I had an amazing time at Craven Cottage for a Fulham game. But best experience nothing's even close. And I've been to games everywhere. San Siro it was Milan Juve back, I don't know, must have been 3 years ago now. We were sitting in the Milan supporters section. It was the best experience, sporting experience of my life. It was unbelievable. It's, in a lot of ways, it's a shame that stadium's going away. At the same time, it is obsolete. I mean, it was, I couldn't find a place to get a beer. You know, they must be losing so much revenue on game day, but it was just a cauldron in there. You know, flares going off, just the flags waving, the drums beating. It was unbelievable.
I'm gonna ask you this question about League One. What do you travel with the team, real quick?
Yeah, so not week in, week out, but I do travel with the team a few times every year. Went to Madison last year, went to Greenville, went other places as well. I'm blanking on them, but those are the rivals we're talking about.
What's your favorite place to go in League One? Your favorite place to eat at so far?
You know, I think Madison has a pretty special game day experience. It's a interesting stadium. It's a tough one for them to deal with, I'm sure. Locker room situation is a disaster. Like
No AC.
Just as bad as it gets. But you know, it's the fans are right on the sidelines in most sections. Unfortunately, not where Chip was stuck by their ticketing staff. But no, that was a pretty fun experience. You know, in championship, we also, the league representatives, went to a San Antonio game in Toyota. I don't know if it's Toyota Park or Toyota Stadium there, but it's a modular stadium, but it is an awesome game day experience. Really, really beautiful example of what a relatively, it's all relative when you're talking stadiums, but what a relatively inexpensive stadium build can be. It was a pretty awesome atmosphere. You know, Greenville with Legacy Early, they had an amazing game day experience too. You know, especially I was seated with our ownership group, so I was getting some VIP treatment. And you know, if you got the VIP seats at Legacy Early, you're having a fun day.
Okay.
So with all this talk about stadiums and game day environment, I'm sure you know where this question's going. Not that we're building a stadium, not that a stadium's being announced, not that there's any sort of thing happening, but if you were to design a stadium for Union Omaha, not location necessarily, but what would you want that stadium to look and feel like?
Yeah, I think I want it to be tight. I want the fans, you know, as close to the sideline as the league and FIFA will allow. I actually know exactly what those dimensions are, so I want them to be that tight. You know, I want it to be pretty vertical. You know, it's got to be safe, but also I want fans to feel like they're on top of the field. I want players to feel like the fans are on top of them. You know, there's a way to build these stadiums so that it's a fortress, so that the opposing team feels like the home fans are hovering over them. That's important to me. Obviously, though, you know, accessibility is hugely important. There are modern amenities that these stadiums, even at the League One level, where they're capacity-wise relatively small, absolutely need to have, just based on the sporting environment that we live in today. So yeah, I want to make it a cauldron, but I also want to make it a place where anybody can feel comfortable depending on what section they're sitting in, and have a good time at the game no matter what you're looking for. So yeah, can't speak to location, anything like that, but no, I think there are architects out there who can build a stadium that gives a real home field advantage and also provides a great experience for anybody who's looking to come watch a game.
So comparing like so I've never been in a modular stadium. Would you say if you didn't know that it was a modular stadium, would you have known that they're modular stadiums just by kind of looking around?
I think so. But you got to know, you would if you know what to look for, right? There's some telltale signs. But when you're in it, you know, when you're sitting in the stands, sitting in your seat, in your suite, whatever it may be, that was a beautiful stadium. I think they did it right. I think they did a great job.
Peter, man, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day for coming on the pod to talk to us, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me any time. And I've got a men's league game. I've got an indoor game in an hour and 10 minutes here. So I got to start getting loose or I'm done. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't need you to pull up and rip anything before the season starts.
Oh no, I almost know it's going to happen. I think this time, soon after this time last year, I was wearing a walking boot from playing in a game with our supporters group. So yeah, the muscles just aren't holding up for me anymore. So it's going to happen, but still got to get out there.
Any last things for you, Chip, before we wrap up?
Just remember to tune in this Saturday. We're going to be announcing a player for the Central Valley Fuego. Should be pretty exciting. And then also for any Omaha fans, anyone that was listening heard Peter's comments, but we'll put this bit at the end. Be patient, be calm. The players are coming. They're going to be good. We're going to whoop Richmond's ass every single game, so it's all going to be good. You can hear Yogi cry.
I'm not going to reply to that. As always, listeners, we want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day for listening to our show, because truly without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. Peter, once again, thank you, sir, for coming on to the show. Guys, we will holler at y'all later. Be easy and be safe.
Thanks.